Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. It has been a fat minute since we last recorded, or I guess, sorry, last streamed. We've been recording, a few segments every week, but haven't been streaming since the Padres were eliminated by the Phillies. So it has been quite some time since we've actually hopped on a stream. So super pumped to be doing that tonight. Not exactly sure how long we're going to be going, but want to talk about all of this different stuff going on in the MLB today. Also, quick note. We do also now have an Instagram and a TikTok up where we kind of post like random shorts, more like overall MLB stuff than just Padres. But if you guys want to follow that, feel free to do that as well. But we're going to be talking about Padres free agency. We'll probably get into some of the other deals too for these other teams as well, just in terms of like talking about Aaron Judge actually, to the Yankees, or talking about is Xander Bogaerts going to be a Red Sox, talking about maybe some of the Red Sox moves as well, just because they've kind of surprisingly been active today. Where it seemed like kind of sit it out. So it's been an interesting free agency. You also have the Dodgers doing nothing, which is weird to see. And apparently they're not going after Correa, which I mean, we had kind of all thought that they were going to go after Correa, I feel like, even though it was a little bit weird. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, even though the Padres have been pretty much silent so far at winter meetings. But let's get into it. Any questions that you guys have, any players that you guys want to discuss, let us know. And we'll definitely kind of go through all the stuff that you guys have, like we typically do in these streams. But I think that we should start out with just kind of talking about how quiet the Padres have been. And I've seen that a lot of people are really alarmed, like, hey, right now we got Aggie Rosario as like a starter on our open day lineup, and we have Ha-Seong Kim hitting fifth and all this stuff. And I'm actually talking to Ryan, who comes on the show quite a bit. And he was kind of stressing about it too. And I view Ryan as a really educated fan and stuff. So like, it's interesting because I see a lot of people kind of freaking out. I'm not concerned like at all. Like that's my personal opinion on it all. Like, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I didn't think the Padres were going to get Aaron Judge or Trey Turner. I didn't want them to get Trey Turner. I don't really like Trey Turner. I'll be honest. Like I didn't really want that to happen. I thought Aaron Judge would have been sick. Ends up going to the Yankees. The Padres make that big push for him. They could end up getting Xander Bogaerts. I like the idea of Xander Bogaerts on a short-term deal, but it seems like he's basically going to Boston. So, DeGrom, I mentioned that he was a guy I like there was a lot of these names where I was like, the Padres should go after these guys. And there's like a few of like the big name guys that I liked. They didn't get them. That's okay. Like, I think we already know that like this lineup is so top heavy. And so when I'm looking at it from like, okay, the Padres are being so quiet for agency. Is this something that we should be panicked about? I don't think so. Like, you can fill the spots in the lineup with average players a lot easier than like, hey, we have no star players. Like, what are we going to do? The big spot that I still think they need to fill is they need to get one more really like legit high-end kind of starter and add some power. But I still think that they're in a perfect space to do that. So I'm not too concerned so far about the kind of like silence at the winter meetings, I guess, even though it's not really like they've been silent because they've been apparently in on every single guy you could imagine. But they haven't landed anyone. They haven't got one of these guys to sign. They haven't signed Aaron Judge or Trey Turner or Xander Bogaerts or all these guys that they're in on. So are you guys concerned with where the Padres are at right now? And do you think there's any reason to kind of press the panic button, if you will?
I don't think there's a concern. I mean, there's like a concern amongst me, like, hey, we could have got some of these like mid-level tier guys. Like, you could have signed Mitch Haniger to a 3-year deal. That was a great deal for the Giants. I was hoping the Padres would do something similar. You see a couple outfielders go away. You saw Masataka Yoshida sign with the Red Sox for 85 million, and then the $15 million fee going to the Buffaloes. So you'd spend around 100 million for that, but he could have been a higher upside outfielder. He signed a 5-year deal for $85 million. You probably could have used that. He was an on-base machine. I know Japan's a little bit different than the MLB, but he only had 41 strikeouts and 508 plate appearances with 80 walks. So that means he's got a really good eye. He's got elite bat to ball contact skills. I mean, I feel like we can keep missing out on just guys that we should probably go for, or we're, signing Judge to try to sign Judge for $400 million. I mean, you got a few needs at starting rotation. You still need a first baseman. You need a left fielder. And then maybe you can worry about shortstop, unless your plan is to sign a shortstop, move Tatis to center, and trade Grisham, which I'm on board with, but that still means you need a first baseman and possibly a DH. It really depends on how much this team wants to try to ride with Campy. I don't know what it is about all our top catching prospects. They just kind of use them every now and again. Oh, what, we can't develop them. Let's just ship them away. So, you know, if they want to do that, if they wanted to go the shortstop route, I'd probably prefer to go with Dansby Swanson. The guy had a breakout year, sign him to like a 5-year deal. He won't be as expensive as Trey Turner. He still gives you some flexibility to go sign guys like Senga, go get another left fielder, go get a first baseman, go get Drury. It allows you to be a little bit more flexible than paying, Judge $40 million a year for 10 years. Which realistically, we were never getting Trey Turner or Judge. If Judge didn't pick San Francisco, he wasn't picking the Padres. Then Trey Turner always said he wanted to stay on the East Coast, so I'm not really surprised by all that.
I'm panicked a little bit. Nothing crazy. I don't really I saw Yoshida signed. I didn't care. I personally don't think he's gonna be that good. He's like 5'8". I don't see him doing very well for the Padres. And I know we need an outfield bat, but I think 105 million for Yoshida is kind of a lot in the position that we're in, at least. I saw they were talking about Benintendi. I don't want Benintendi. I just don't get it. If we're talking Benintendi, if we're talking Yoshida, why don't we just re-sign Profar? Everyone, the whole team loves Profar already. The whole team loves Profar. He's got great chemistry. He's been here. He wants to be here. If we're not going to pay up for a left fielder, and I don't know what his market's looking like. It doesn't seem very crazy. It doesn't seem like a very high market for Profar. But if you don't want to pay up for an outfielder, just go get Profar. He just had a really good year for you. And who was another guy that they were talking about? I can't remember off the top of my head, but Benintendi literally does nothing. I think he's a more expensive Profar, and I think Profar is a little better. So if you're looking at those kind of options for the outfield, I like that. But in terms of signing the superstars, basically, if you got Trey Turner, what was going to happen? You're obviously going to plug him in at short, Kim at second, Cronenworth at first. For those who don't know, Cronenworth apparently on Fangraphs would have the same value at first as he would at second. Apparently, the shift is gonna make his defense that much more valuable that it's not going to really downgrade his WAR at all, or not at all, but very minimal difference. So apparently he would have been just as valuable at first. Just the power aspect wouldn't have been there for a first baseman. Fernando probably in right, Grisham in center, Soto in left, something like that. And then if you would have gotten Judge, you would have went Judge, Grisham, Soto from right to left, and then Manny, Fernando, Kim, Cronenworth, and then Nola and Campusano in the back as your backstop. That sounds nice to me. That's
I gotta interrupt you.
Yeah, go.
I was thinking about you just were talking about Judge. What if they plug Fernando in center? What if that was your outfield?
That was more of my thought. If they moved Fernando to the outfield, you'd put him in center field just so that, his speed, his athleticism, his arm is on full display. Yeah. And then you try to sign another right fielder, power bat.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too, but I'm kind of thinking they want to keep Grisham just because he's super cheap. Everyone probably heard that little clip that came out. Now, if I were to make a guess, if that was real, and that was horrible to record, by the way. If that was real, I would assume it was Arraez. But anyway, I'm just assuming they might keep Grish just because he's cheap, plays really good outfield, sucks at the plate though. I don't know how he's estimated to get a 3.5, 3.6 WAR on Fangraphs right now. That seems kind of high, and I think they're kind of thinking all right, if he can hit around a 730 to 750 OPS, he should be fine. And that is really what will make him a 3, 4, not a 4, a low 3 WAR player, which I'll take. I would love that. But yeah, I like the idea of getting either of them. Missed out, who cares? That's a lot of money for. I don't think the Judge contract is going to pan out, and I think what we're kind of starting to see is that the Phillies and the Yankees both paid up, thinking, all right, we have a small window. I don't care if the contract doesn't pan out in the future. That's okay, because we might not be as good in the future anyway. Let's go all in right now and then pay them later. And I don't know if that's the Padres' approach, but obviously they're going to be in on probably Correa. They're going to be in on Bogarts. They're going to be in on Rodon. They're in on all these big names. Sadler has kind of shown that I'm willing to spend the money if the right person is there. Now, whether you guys think Rodon, Correa, Bogarts, whether you guys think these guys are the right fit, that's up to you. I like them all. But if you're going like a little lower, you got Brandon Nimmo, who plays all outfield positions. You don't really got to worry about where you're going to plug him in. He plays right, he plays left, he plays center, he plays them all. You got Jurickson Profar. You got Brandon Drury that's still on the market. You got Kodai Senga. There's still guys out there that maybe they're not superstars, but they're names that can definitely improve the team.
Yeah, and I think this is the case too. So one thing that I think it was last time we were recording, we were talking about the pitching, and kind of like, hey, are the Padres going to be able to get a high-end arm? Well, yes, DeGrom and Verlander are gone, but those are kind of like the older options where it's like you're spending a ton of money, short-term deals. Rodon is still available. Senga is still available. These are guys that are a little bit more risky in terms of injury. And it's funny because DeGrom always kind of gets labeled as like an injury-prone guy, even though he's been hurt like once in a long time. But Senga has had like a lot of shoulder issues. Rodon has some question marks, and I feel like I honestly wonder if part of the reason that he hasn't signed so far is just because there's some question marks there, and people are like, do I want to pay this guy $25+ million? Is his arm going to blow out right when he, in the first half of the year? So I don't know if they're going to go after them, but those are two guys that if you added them and they are healthy, them as your, basically them or, technically really Blake Snell is your four, but like adding them as like a fourth guy in your rotation makes your rotation that good. So you look at the Padres where they at the last year compared to this year, you're getting Fernando back. You are losing three guys potentially. And I see a lot of people talking about Drury. So we definitely got to talk about Drury, but you have Drury, Myers, and Bell is kind of like the guys you're losing. And I guess Profar too, even though I think that you can easily replace Profar by trading for another corner outfielder. Like I don't find that very hard to be able to do. But for first base, for those guys, it's like, okay, so who's like the big guy you're losing? Myers is, I'm sorry, Chase, but Myers is kind of a replaceable player. Like you can find a Myers like sitting around. Even though I like Will Myers. Drury, there's a very good chance that Drury's back. I still think that's the case. And then it's like, okay, you lost Bell. But Bell was here last year and he sucked. Like we all like Josh Bell. I mean, we had wanted him on the Padres for a long time. But like that's the guy you lost was a guy that wasn't good. And you're getting Fernando back. And I basically view it as addition with subtraction in terms of Clevin Minaya. If you can just sign a Wade Miley or really trade for another starter or sign a Senga, sign a Rodon. So it's like you're still probably better this year heading into the season. Maybe not as deep because you don't have your farm pieces because you traded for Soto. But like I don't really get the freaking out part of it because it's like I still feel like there's a million scenarios that we can look through. And it's like the Padres didn't land one of these crazy guys. But like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we weren't expecting them to land them. The only reason that we feel that way is because, they're in on them. They're in on this guy. And it's kind of funny because now both the Padres and the 49ers as well, I swear to God, dude, every single free agent there is like 49ers are in on this guy. Oh, Odell Beckham? Oh, the 49ers want him. It's like, no, they don't, bro. They don't want him. But of course, they're like, 49ers are heavily linked to him. The same thing's happening with the Padres. So like, at this point, I'm starting to become immune to like, yes, apparently my team is in on it every single time. Well, guess what? They're not going to sign every single free agent. And I see people like, well, why don't these guys want to go to San Diego? And like people like trying to like make fun of the Padres, like they couldn't even sign these guys. It's like, dude, Aaron Judge wants to play on the Yankees, went back to the Yankees, said he wanted to play on the Yankees, and the Padres basically pushed the price up. The Padres and the Giants did that. They were making a push for him. Trey Turner like didn't want to play here. Like it was very clear that he wanted to stay on the East Coast and basically be close to home. So I don't really know how it's like that big of a surprise, because like a week ago we didn't think they were going to get these guys. So I find it very, very interesting, and I just think there's like so many different ways that you can improve this team. The three guys that we talked about the Padres potentially trading for, which two of the guys we didn't think would cost that much, and Anthony Santander and Ian Happ, and then the third guy being Sean Murphy. He's already been linked as a guy that could get traded for, though the Padres haven't been like rumored there. But there are so many guys that can still get traded for, and people are like, well, the Padres they have a depleted farm system. It's like, yeah, they also have like so many guys that are about to graduate that they do not have a roster spot for, and they're going to trade to teams that suck because they're going to get an opportunity there. Like there's so many guys that are getting close to the top. They're not necessarily great prospects, but a corner outfielder that you're not going to keep that makes $12 million when you suck, and you're not re-signing him for half a year at the deadline. Like the Padres can trade for that. Like you don't have to give up significant significant prospect capital to go get one of those guys. So that's why I think that there's a decent chance that the Padres still like look completely different in a little bit. Also, what's the date today? December 7th? Yeah, December 7th. We have like 4 months. We have like 4 months, so we actually have to look at this lineup. Also, I mean, we've seen it. AJ Preller likes to trade for guys like 2 days before the season. So we'll also have to just wait for like when that inevitably happens. And it's like, oh, look, the whole team, like, there's 2 new starters on this team, 3 new starters on this team. Like it happened last year with Mania, Voit, who else? Mania, Voit, someone else right before, I think.
Mania, Voit.
Oh, Rogers. And Rogers
Yeah,
right before,
right,
all like a couple days before. So like that happens too. So I don't know. I am bummed. Like I would have loved to see Aaron Judge. And also like the Padres full, like what they always try to do when they like target these high profile names is like they legitimately just go after like the most marketable guys there are. And Judge would have fit that description to a T. I don't know if Trey Turner or like Carlos Correa would. I guess Correa kind of does, but like in a different way, I guess. But like if you would have added Judge, it's like, dude, look at these names, bro. Because it's like you have Fernando, you have Manny Machado, if you had Aaron Judge, you'd have Aaron Judge, you'd have Juan Soto, you'd have Darvish, who's super well like followed and everything. It's just interesting. Like you can kind of tell what the Padres are gonna do if you just look at like, hey, how much is this guy liked? Oh, they're trying to build their brand. Look at that. And it's like it's just kind of funny to see from that standpoint outside of the actual baseball part of it. But yeah, what do you guys? Who are these guys that you guys want? I see people talking about different guys here. Let's talk about bringing guys back. Let's talk about Drury, Myers, Isaac. You got into Profar a little bit, but Chase, what is your thought on bringing those 3 guys back? And I guess Mania too.
Don't want Mania back. I mean, we do need another lefty, but I'd much rather replace him with Wade Miley. There's better arms out there on the market than Mania. Definitely want Drury back. I think he fits the DH role perfectly. He also gives you depth at first base and left field in an emergency situation. Realistically, I wouldn't start him at either position every single day. I prefer him at DH. I like Myers. It'd have to be on a cheap contract for the right amount of money, like a 1 year show me deal. Show you still got stuff in the tank. I like Profar, but it really depends on how much money he's going to make. I think there's better left fielders on the market than Profar, and if not, similar bats that you can get for cheaper. However, there's one guy that we're not mentioning that we know Preller's always going to go after, and you mentioned that there's a million scenarios left, and half of them include this one man, and none of us have yet to mention him. Joey Gallo. As much as we hate him, the ban on the shift might help him a little bit. He's still going to strike out a ton. We don't know what it's going to do to his on-base percentage. However, that is Preller's boy. He's been wanting him for years upon years. He got him on the Rangers, and what does he do? Any guy that was a Ranger is instantly going to be a Padre. We've seen it with Profar. We've seen it with Alfaro. We've seen it with Darvish. We've seen it with Nick Martinez. We've just seen it over and over again. So I think
David Dahl was a Ranger.
Oh yeah, David Dahl was a Ranger too. Thank you for proving my point even further. I mean, I don't want him. I think I see a lot of people mentioning Brandon Nimmo. I like Brandon Nimmo. I just think Preller's gonna swing for the fences with Gallo in hopes that we can fix him with our like 7th hitting coach in 6 years. So I think we just kind of have to insert him toward in the plans, even though we don't want him, but we kind of.
Yeah, and I just looked up Joey Gallo's estimated value. Let me see if he was with Boris or not. You know, the Boris guys, they get a little more than. Yep, he is. Um, he's anticipated to make 8.9. Could probably count on that being around 10. That's not bad. Yeah, Chase, I agree. That's not bad. I don't know. That was pretty tough. But in terms of bringing guys back, I really want Drury back. Um, I think Drury is a great fit for this Padres team. I think Drury's a great fit for this Padres teams in terms of, all right, we need a DH. Hopefully he can give us another 20 home runs or so, right? He's a really good lefty hitter. He can play the field. I really like the option of bringing Drury back. I already talked about Jerkson Profar. He's estimated to make 15. That's kind of a lot. I don't think he'll make 15. I think he'll make 10 to 12. But obviously that's a guy that the clubhouse loves. Very close with Fernando, very close with Kim, very close with all the guys. Just had a really good year for the Padres. So he's obviously going to be an option considering we have AJ Preller. He was a Padre and he had a good year this year. And doesn't seem like there's much of a market for him either. Go for it, Chase.
I was going to say, I have one question for y'all. What do you guys think Bellinger did to the outfielder market? Because realistically, I don't think any of us were really expecting him to sign for $17.5 million after having that bad of a 2 years.
No, I definitely didn't. Actually, well, it was so weird because I definitely didn't think he'd get 17, but everyone was saying 20. Like you just saw Jeff Passan say the Cubs got a deal out of that Cody Bellinger deal. And I'm thinking how? Like where? I don't know if you guys saw, but Josh Reddick tweeted out, if only I hit 200, struck out 150 times and did something else, I could get 20 million or 17 million. And that was a direct shot at Cody Bellinger. So Jeff Passan saying that it was a deal kind of makes me think, all right, maybe people thought he was going to make 20 because they're still going based off this idea that Cody Bellinger still got this MVP form in him. And he might, like legitimately, he might. He's still a gold glove type center fielder. But in my opinion, you're not necessarily paying for the production. You're paying for what he used to be. That's what he is. That is exactly what I don't know why he's betting on himself when he's kind of shown like, even the best organization couldn't fix me. Now, of course, it's always good to bet on yourself, but that could go wrong. Now I don't know if he inflated it or maybe decreased it, but going based off what Passan said, I don't really think he affected it too much. But Passan's a reporter. He's not the actual owners. He's not the GMs. The GMs are all going to have very different opinions. But going back to the guys that we might bring back, just talked about Profar. Will, I'm not too opposed to bringing back Will. I think, and you guys know I don't like Will that much, but I'm not too opposed. He plays really good. If he's playing first base, he plays some really good first base. Like he's a really athletic first baseman. And I think he could provide value at first base with the shift gone, kind of just like Jake Cronenworth. There's value there. And then I forgot who else there is, but Jorge Alfaro probably not coming back. I saw someone mention him. Trying to think of anyone. Is there someone I'm missing?
I was just gonna say I could see Alfaro come back. I was gonna bring him up. I could see him coming back. I don't really think there's that big of a chance Profar comes back, but like,
yeah, I don't either.
It's weird because it's just like, has anyone? Okay, everyone in the chat, has anyone heard about a single word on Profar? Like,
no.
Hey, this team might want Profar. I haven't heard a single word on Profar. Like I was thinking about it, I was like, dude, I haven't even thought about Profar in a little bit here. Like, And we had talked about like maybe he'll come back. Oh, Pierce Johnson as another guy. Mike says I could see Pierce Johnson coming back. They really liked him. I don't. It just kind of depends on like who they view. Maybe not. They had a Rule 5 pick today that was another lefty. So
Yeah.
I guess actually kind of intriguing there because he was really good in the minors. I see Myers. I could really see. So this was something I was thinking about a while back of like if you go like a cheap option. I mean, Alfaro is kind of like a cheap option if they don't trust Campy. Even though, dude, give Campy some at bats, dude. Please, he comes up and every time it's like, oh, Campy hit 110. It's like, yeah, he had 11 plate appearances and he hit 5 piss shots. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like he's just lining the ball right to guys. It's like, all right, bro, if you gave him like 100, a couple hundred at bats, you might see him kind of start to figure it out. And at the very least, he could be a DH, like a DH and like an occasional backup catcher. So you could even keep 3 catchers with him if you don't sign a true DH. I think a really intriguing cheap option at first base would be to sign Drury and Myers for like 10-ish million combined, 12-ish million combined, 15 maybe like 10 to 15 million combined, right? You go after both of those guys, and Drury can DH sometimes, and Myers can play first. Myers can play right. Fernando can play right. Myers can play first. Cronenworth can play first. Drury can play first. All of a sudden, you get all that flexibility that we had kind of been, talking about a little bit with like a Xander Bogaerts or a Trey Turner coming in. You get it in a different way, but still a very similar way where if you're still unsure where you want to put Fernando, if you have Myers there, all of a sudden you have another corner outfielder. If you don't, then this is assuming you don't want to go get another corner outfielder, and you're going to keep Grisham in center or whatever that is too. So there are kind of a couple things. Wavy also asked, can Soto play left? Yes, and I would probably prefer him playing left. I think he'd perform better in left. It's way shorter at Petco. And Soto actually has a pretty good arm, so he could gun some people out of home and at third pretty decent amount, as we saw Profar do last year. And then also like you have a faster guy in right in Myers or Tatis, or if you go and get another outfielder, he's probably going to be better than Soto in right field. And yeah, I don't think Drury's like a crazy move or anything, Adrian, but I just think it's like you can just go and like snag those guys as like cheaper pieces, and then what you can do then is if you're trying to not really break the bank, which it seems like they're willing to, but then you could still go and get like a Rodon or a Senga, or you could trade for multiple guys, because most of the time Preller doesn't even sign guys. He trades for guys for like high profile names. It's been like almost all the big time moves that Preller's made. So I don't know, dude, there's like so many different options here. Who else was there? There was someone that I wanted to ask you guys that I saw up here a little bit. Michael Conforto. There was another guy too. Oh, Michael Brantley, Michael Conforto. What do you think about those two guys?
I'm a little less enthusiastic about Brantley because of his age. It's like the same reason like the Padres are linked to Yuri Gurriel. I don't want Yuri Gurriel. I want Yuli Gurriel. I mean, he's old as hell. He had his worst year on the Astros. They went and got a first baseman for a reason. I mean, if they Astros couldn't think they couldn't fix him for the next year, what makes you think the Padres can? Michael Conforto, I'm definitely a little more lenient towards it. I wonder how much money he's going to make because he was injured all of last year, basically. I think if he goes back to how he was on the Mets, it's a big if, because one, the Padres, anytime a guy comes over to the Padres, for some reason, they always seem to do worse than they always were on their other team. They used to stink. However, that's usually in trades. Whenever we trade for a guy, they just get drained of all their talent as soon as they touch the Petco Park grass. However, if we sign him now and he's ready for spring training, I think the earlier we sign him, the earlier we get him acclimated with the team. It's kind of shown that the earlier a guy signs with the team or gets traded to a team before spring training, the better they do. So I'm on board with Conforto just because he does have a lot of upside with him. Not too much on Brantley. I'd rather much go get someone younger.
Yeah, that's valid. Brantley's a good contact hitter, but that's the thing, you know, is that like, how much do you really want a contact hitter? You know, like if you're gonna be, because I feel like Brantley might get paid a solid amount because he's always had a high average. He's a great hitter. Um, I don't know if he's good at defense. I highly doubt it. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like he might get paid a nice little chunk. And if it's not cheap, like Profar, Benintendi, or I guess cheap considering the market, then why go after it if that's not exactly what you need? Fernando, you're already getting back. That's your 40 home runs, whatever it is, if he comes back the same. Manny, you're going to get your 30 home runs. Juan Soto, probably hopefully 30. Jake, hopefully you get 20. I don't think he reached 20 this year. But outside of that, you got like 2 from Nola. You're going to get like hopefully 10 from Kim. I don't know if he reached 10 this year. I want to say he did. First base, I don't know who the hell is playing first base. Left field is empty. I mean, you need somebody to have some power. You need a power guy, a guy that maybe can hit for both, hit for contact and for some power. I don't think Brantley does that. I also don't think Benintendi. I hated when I saw that the Padres weren't going to talk to Benintendi. I hated it. And I used to love Benintendi, but it just doesn't really fit the mold of what the Padres need right now. Shoot, I forgot what else we were talking about, to be honest. I see people talking about Gurriel. Definitely don't want Gurriel. That dude sucks. He was actually less valuable than Eric Hosmer. Anyone on the Gurriel train, hop off. Brandon Nimmo, dude, I really like the idea of getting Brandon Nimmo. If the Padres, I don't think they're in on him. I haven't heard anything about it. Then again, quite a few times it's, oh shoot, we didn't hear anything on this guy, and AJ got him. That happens.
I haven't heard anything about Gallo either.
Exactly, that's true too, and we know he's in on Gallo. It's inevitable. But you know, I love the idea of getting Brandon Nimmo. That's your perfect leadoff guy. Nimmo, Fernando, Soto, Machado, whatever it is, however you want to do it, fire. But I mean, they definitely need a bat. So you know, we're gonna see how all it goes. Arraez, that's another guy I don't want. I feel like you're gonna have to give up a good amount. He hit 316. That's pretty damn good. But 8 home runs, 316 with like a 790 OPS. If you're hitting 316, you better have at least an 850 OPS in today's game.
However, we could use a guy that gets on base like he
average wise, yeah, exactly. He is really good at getting on base.
Like you had him lead off, and then you have Cronenworth, Tatis, Machado, Soto, or you go Arraez, Soto, Tatis, Machado. That's kind of lethal. 2 guys that get on base at a 350 clip with 40 home runs and 30 home runs after that. I mean, that's
he haunts me in the same way Frazier did.
That's
but Frazier's out there hitting 250, 230. That's the difference.
But on the Pirates, he hit 327.
Okay, but that was only like that 1/2 year, though. Yeah, that's the difference, I think.
The half year.
Arraez has been consistent over like 310 for the past 2 years.
I don't know.
I feel like that makes sense as a leadoff guy. Okay, the other thing too is like we're talking about a lot of like these guys like and how it's like kind of negative that they're contact hitters in a way, which is true. Like that's the way the baseball is moving. But if you have a guy that just like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Like if you have a guy that can just produce, even if he can't produce power numbers, we already know where like this team's gonna get their power from. It's gonna mostly come from 3 guys. But if you can get someone to come out there and get on base at a 40% clip, I don't know what his was, but I'm guessing it's pretty high. But if you're hitting 310 and you're leading the league in average over a 3-year span, like I find that super valuable. And I think that's why that we see them linked so much to Xander Bogaerts and Trey Turner, for instance. Like I really think that's why. And then of course, there's kind of the flip side of it. Aaron Judge, it's like, well, yeah, if you're signing Aaron Judge, it's not like the dude's not going to be able to hit home runs. You know, even though maybe those balls were a little bit juiced. I don't know if you guys saw that little chart on the Yankees getting a quarter of the juice balls last year. But like, it's a different thing of like having a mega power hitter than to having like, for instance, like a guy like Josh Bell, who's like a pretty solid power hitter, but he's more of just an overall hitter, like where if you just have a guy that's like a great contact hitter, like I feel more, I guess I should say, I feel more confident in that guy being able to produce on the Padres than bringing in a guy that's like a borderline power hitter. It's like, well, his numbers are going to drop. That's what the expectation is, where it's like, if this guy's a contact hitter, I don't think there's a reason to believe like, oh, he's not going to hit for as high of an average. It's like, well, why? There isn't really as much of a reason for that, I guess, is kind of my thought on it all. I don't know. Do you guys?
Arraez last year had a 375. And he's projected at a 369 on base this year. This upcoming year.
Is he better than every single player outside of, in that regard, outside of Tatis, Soto, and Manny? He'd be the next guy up, right, on the team? His profile wasn't that high.
I don't know.
And he's up there.
I was thinking maybe Kim, but I don't know. I think Kim was maybe in 350, 360s.
That high?
I think it was pretty. I don't really remember.
I thought profile was around like 340. And was like
his OPS high that second half because he wasn't getting on base and he wasn't hitting for power.
So Luis Arraez, I just saw his baseball savant. Exit velocity, 48th percentile. That's average. Max exit velocity, 31st percentile. Hard hit percentage, 7th percentile. The expected batting average is really good, 97th percentile. Barrel percentage, 11th percentile. He doesn't strike out. That's something that someone pointed out, which, yeah, he does not strike out. 100th percentile in K percentage. 100th percentile in whiff percentage also. 16th and outs above average. See, like, I don't know. I feel like
dude, this guy struck out 7% of the time.
Yeah, he doesn't strike out. I don't know, man.
He is in the 100th percentile in whiffing and K rate.
Guys, what are we talking about here? You tell me we can get this guy and we can get Joey Gallo and we can combine them and make the perfect player right there.
Yeah, I wish. Arraez is definitely going to be one of those guys that everyone's like very mixed on. Everyone's going to look at the batting, like people look at the batting average. They love it. I do too. Shit, 316. That's awesome. But then I think on base percentage, I'm thinking if you have a 316 on base percent or average, I want your on base percentage to be like 400. If we have to give up something, we have to give up a decent chunk. I don't know what's left on his contract. I don't know how much he's getting paid, any of that. I don't really know how much I want Arraez.
But also, doesn't that kind of go to like the point of like, there's so many guys you can pick for a corner outfield
There's
spot.
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. Oh, he's a second.
Oh, Arraez should be a first baseman.
First baseman?
You play first?
He plays
Where
first.
does he play? He plays multiple spots, right?
I don't know. Let me see.
I think he plays first and second.
Okay, so then it would make sense for infield wise.
He's estimated at like 4.7 million against the luxury tax salary for the Twins. He wouldn't reach an unrestricted free agent until 2026. We'd have 4 years of control on a pretty cheap deal. He only made like $2 million last year.
Bro, if you're telling me that we can trade Trent Grisham for this guy,
yeah, that's what they were saying. That is what they were saying.
I
don't know about Lesko. I wouldn't want to move Lesko for him.
Oh no, absolutely not. We already
just got here.
Traded all of our team that was ready to graduate and sent them to the moon. We have more. We can't rely on Kevin Kopps. He's sort of been a flop in the minor league system. He's going to be a reliever. He's not a starter. So that leaves like Lesko, Snelling, but he's still going to take a year or two. You need to have guys like within the next 3 years so that you can not spend like $200 million on pitchers.
Look.
Yeah, we're gonna really need Lesko to hit. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
He has a lot of pressure to be a big time pitcher for this team in a few years.
Soto was the exception. Like Soto was the one guy that you legit like you sell the farm for. I'm not selling the farm for many other guys. Soto was the exception. So that is I know that trading all these prospects makes us think like, fuck them prospects. But
we need them.
yeah, we need them. Yeah, realistically, how do you guys think we got all these players? Because we had one of the top farm systems and we were able to trade them all away. So whether you want a good future in terms of building up your team through the farm, or you want to trade them all away and get stars, you need a farm. You need to rebuild the farm, and I'm very confident AJ is going to do it. But right now, I don't really think we have the prospects to make a huge trade, because we made one already. We already made the huge trade for one of the best players in baseball, one of the best hitters ever. So that guy is the exception.
I'd say we do have the means. However, we would strip the farm to its bare bones to the point where if a starter gets hurt, we're pulling up a guy from Double-A with an 8 ERA and praying to God that he gets through 5 innings.
Exactly.
And what did that cause last time that went down? That's the
Vince
thing.
Velasquez, baby. Jake Arrieta.
You know who's not getting talked about a lot? That he also actually has a shitload of pressure to be good, because one, he can't get traded. He already sucks enough. So I don't know what his trade capital is or what. You guys might know who I'm talking about. Ryan Weathers.
Yeah.
That guy fell off the face of the moon. Nobody remembers him.
I remember
the Padres.
I remember when you guys. I wasn't on it, but you guys made a video like, "Hey, yo, we should trade this guy for Max Scherzer," and everyone was like, "Why do we trade this guy for Max Scherzer?"
Yeah, I'm like, bro, him turning into Max Scherzer is not very likely.
If you look at this Baseball Savant page, it is blue, and maybe this is the time that we should trade him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think people are very high in MLB circles on.
I mean,
Weathers.
It's fair. He's looked like crap, but he definitely has
like a 7 ERA in Triple-A.
Yeah, that's horrific, and that's the thing is like he probably knows like shit. My team needs a lefty. I'm a lefty, but I'm not good, and I can't really get traded. So I mean, either he's set and thinking, all right, there's no pressure. I'm probably not going to get traded, this and that. But that's a guy that we really need him to come through soon, because he can't look good for 10 games and then completely fall off the face of the earth.
I don't.
He can and did.
That's exactly what he did.
I was going to say he can't. Well, he did. He kind of proved that wrong.
That is exactly what he did.
Is
which is wicked.
Even if you could trade him, I don't know if teams are going to deal with the drama that ensued with Weathers and his family.
Dude, I forgot about that all.
Yeah, they're very drama. I mean, from what we've heard or what we've read and all that, definitely very drama filled.
It's like, this guy's a starter. He's not a reliever. It's like,
yeah. That's the big one, is that they actually, the Padres want him to be a reliever for right now at least, and from what I've seen, the family's like, look, he's not a reliever. He's a starter. Only play him as a starter. And that's final. That's what's been said. So,
and your son as a starter puts up a 7 ERA in Triple-A.
Yeah.
He can bump 97 from a reliever, but force him to be a starter. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he throws 92 and he's throwing
cheese balls.
It's like he brought me out there to throw a fastball, dude. It's not. His off-speed stuff is actually pretty good at times.
Yeah, nice.
But he doesn't have
his off-speed. He can't locate.
Yeah, well, but also if he's throwing a fastball, it's like batting practice. It's like it's just not a good recipe right there. Okay.
Yoshida went to the Red Sox.
What happened?
Yeah, Yoshida's the Red Sox. 90 or 85 million, $15 million fee to his club. To the Red Sox, confirmed by Passan. By the way, we won't say anything until Passan has officially confirmed that a trade or signing has happened.
We have been bamboozled.
We already got bamboozled with
Max Scherzer.
Rosenthal, I believe, and Max Scherzer, and then Judge to the Giants for John Heyman.
Dude, that was hilarious.
So crazy.
Oh, wait, hold up. Dude, that'd have been rough to be a Giants fan. You're like, we got Aaron Judge. We got him. And then
yeah.
it's like, wait a second. Like 2 minutes later, sorry, guys. That
I
didn't
jumped the
happen.
gun.
And then he just doesn't sign. Oh, God. That's worse. That's way worse than the Scherzer one. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. Okay. Let's go through a few guys. Carlos Correa. What are your thoughts on him? Not just to the Padres, but like thoughts on him in general in free agency. What kind of contract do you think he gets? Where do you think he lands? And also, do you think it makes sense from the Padres to kind of wrap it up? We'll kind of do a couple guys rapid fire.
I don't think he wants more than a 3-year deal, huh?
I'm not sure.
He wants a short-term deal, though, right?
From what I've seen, some say short term, some say long term, just because it might be better for him to get the bag now and get the years, considering his health. I've seen both arguments.
5-year deal, probably between 160 and 180 mil.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's about right.
Yeah, so Carlos Correa, I love the idea of having Carlos Correa on my team. I think his reputation and the thought of him kind of gets washed because of what happened with the Astros, and he was kind of the most adamant in defending them. So not a lot of people like him. Fairly so. But in terms of AAV, I'd probably have to say it's going to be around the Lindor deal, which was 32, something like that. I think it'll be around 30 or so. Who just signed? Somebody just Trey Turner getting 11 for 300. So that's around 20 something. Do you guys think Correa deserves more than Turner? I think he deserves right around the same.
I think it'll
like
be.
I said, that's why I said like the
years.
32.
Yeah. I think it'll be like probably a little bit more in terms of AAV, but probably less years.
Yeah, because right now I was checking his value on Spot Track, and they had him like 8 years, 32 a year, something like that. And I mean, if the shortstop market was what it was a few years ago, where you saw Lindor get all that money, Fernando got a solid chunk of money, then I could see like a Lindor deal. But when Trey Turner signs 11 for 300, I don't know if you're going to get more than him. I think he'll get maybe the same, if not a little more, just because the Padres are kind of showing like, hey, we're willing to spend up for you if you want to come over here. And I just saw Aaron Swan say Correa will probably go to the Dodgers. Apparently, and take this with a grain of salt, we don't know. The Dodgers aren't going to get him because they don't think it'll be taken well by the fans. But for Correa, I love the idea of getting him. Quite frankly, I don't think he will be a Padre. I think the Cubs are going to swoop in, or the Giants, and pay him 7 years and around the same AAV as Trey Turner.
That seems pretty fair.
If the Padres sign him, I would hope it looked like a 5-year 170 with an out after the second and third year.
Definitely.
If not mutual opt-out or player opt-out, because then it gives you the chance to, okay, this guy's not working out for us. We're going to opt out of your contract. Then you hit the free agent market and sign a long-term deal. You get to see how Tatis is in the outfield for a year or two, and you're not committing to that long-term. Though you could also argue you could trade Kim away and move one of them to second, which I don't know how well that's going to work out either. But if you do that, the 5-year deal, an opt-out after the second and third year would be money at $34 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a guy like he's also it's just kind of one of those things like I don't really know if I want Correa. Like from a player standpoint, of course, but like I'll be honest, guys, like if I'm like picking stuff, like I'm gonna be emotional with it. Like I want to have guys I want to root for. I don't know how much I really like Correa. I think he gets kind of turned into a villain maybe more than he should.
Yeah.
But there's still a reason for that, like at the end of the day. So I don't know how much I truly want him. But if you're looking at it from a baseball standpoint, one, you're not plugging Correa anywhere else. You are putting Correa at short. Correa is going to play short. Kim's going to play second, and Crone's going to play first. And you easily have the best defensive infield in baseball. I don't even think there's anyone that can compare to that. Manny, Correa, Kim, Crone. Oh my God, that would be absurd. So that would be a huge signing. Like that would be a massive, massive player to get. You'd rather have him than Trey Turner, I think. You'd probably rather have him than like any of the other guys. Injuries are going to take their time and that'll end up being a play, but like from a talent standpoint, like he's got to be a top of the list. So I do really wonder where he ends up going, but that's an interesting one. So, all right, I got two more for you guys. We'll go through these and then we'll probably call it after that, but this is kind of a combo one. Rodon and Senga. How much do you guys think they get? Where do you think are the most likely landing spots?
I know we were amongst the finalists for Senga. I forget who the other teams were. It's hard to say just because of the pitching market as of right now. You had Verlander signed to $43 million a year. You had DeGrom signed to, what was it, $37 million a year if his 6th year gets picked up. Senga, comparing to what Suzuki got and now Yoshida, has been 5-year, 85, 5-year, basically 85, 90. He has potential to be better than both of them, so I'd probably go 5-6 years because I also saw he's been offering 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, 110. I hope he comes to the Padres. However, we do have the connections with, I think there's a front office guy and then Darvish. But Darvish also sent Suzuki to the Cubs, so it's kind of hard to tell.
Yo, too many times to count, KFC. Dude, I've seen it so much. That shit was sick. But in terms of Senga, I think he'll be what was his market again? Mets, Padres, Red Sox, Cubs,
Twins?
I think the Cubs, yeah.
I think it was Cubs. Yeah. Mets, Padres, Red Sox, Cubs. Damn. That one's kind of tough.
Out some money too.
Yeah, the Red Sox, yeah. I'm gonna have to go Senga to the Padres, Rodon to the Mets. And then who was the other one? Bogarts?
Yeah, Bogarts to the Red Sox. I think he's resigning.
Okay. So it was Rodon and Senga. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Rodon to the Mets just because we kind of okay. I don't know what the Mets are at in terms of salary right now. Please, someone update me before I really say Rodon to the Mets. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna hit 300. If they sign Rodon, I don't know if they're already at 300. If they're not, oh shit, I like that. If they're not, then I would probably say still Senga to the Padres, but Rodon
97.
Holy shit. I'll get back to you guys on that next episode.
90.
So
I'll be right back.
All right.
So
that was right.
So I think I feel like for these guys, I don't know, dude. The Mets, wow, dude. Because the thing is, I'm looking at the names. I'm like, I think the Mets are gonna get Nimmo and Rodon. Bro, they're gonna be paying so much money. That is wild. And obviously they don't care. They've made it very clear that they do not care how much they're gonna pay. But I mean that's a good pickup. It's a good guy to come in and replace DeGrom. But I agree. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. But it's just kind of crazy to think like, wow, they're gonna really pay that much money. And you feel like they should be better. You feel like they should be better at over $300 million in salary.
Stink.
That's kind of wild. Yeah, I think.
And it's crazy to think they had
Rodon,
Scherzer, DeGrom, and Bassett and Walker. and were bounced first round.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Walker got a pretty solid deal.
And Edwin Diaz out of the pen.
Yeah, they're paying Diaz 9 figures.
See, here's the Mets' problem. Who the hell signs a reliever to 5 years, $100 million?
I mean, he's a damn good reliever, but I'm still with you, dude. Yeah. Hey, at the end of the day, you know what the Mets should do? I think I'm seeing the path for the Mets. They need to save some money, so they can let Brandon Nimmo sign with us. All right, and then we'll trade them Trent Grisham. How about that? They get the guy that eliminated them for the playoffs, and we'll take their center fielder. Just fair swap. I don't know. Lugo to the Padres? I certainly hope not.
Maybe as a middle reliever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently he I don't know. I just don't think he's that good. Like, and also like we already have so many middle reliever guys. Yeah, re-signing Suarez and Martinez, I feel like that kind of made it so like we're not as like desperate to go get bullpen pieces. So I don't think Nimmo. That would have to be a lot later. So
but are we considering
Martinez
a reliever or starter at this point?
I mean, right now he has to be a starter, but I think he'll ultimately be a reliever. Yeah. I still think that. I still think we're gonna go get 2 more starters. There's a lot of names still out there. So, all right, guys. Anyone else we're thinking of? Any names that are popping to your guys' heads of like, oh, we didn't talk about this guy? I feel like we went over a lot of guys. But it's fun, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun thinking about these hypotheticals. I mean, the winter meetings are over now, so things might slow down. I mean, shoot, for all we know, Bogarts and Correa might be exactly like Machado and Harper that one year, where it's kind of took them a really long time.
February?
Yeah, February. It took a really long time. And that's kind of the downside of the MLB is that it takes a while for some of these sometimes it takes a while for some of these big stars to sign. But when the splashes happen, they're a lot of fun. Whereas in the NBA, NFL, as soon as the season opens, it's everyone's gone within the first 2 or 3 days, and then the rest is boring. But definitely a lot of fun. Hoping we get somebody this month. I'll take this month because there's been a lot of speculation, Turner, Judge, but there's still some names out there that could help the Padres. So hopefully we see something here soon.
Do we want to talk about Marlins pitchers real quick? Because basically the Marlins said anybody but Alcantara is available.
Yeah.
Cabrera and Lopez, 2 guys I really like.
No Luzardo? I mean, we do need a lefty.
Yeah, for sure. We need a lefty.
What would your wish list be for those 3 guys? Like, how would you rank them?
Lopez, Cabrera, Luzardo. Just because Luzardo he has all the talent there. We could probably put it all together, but then it's also injury concerns with him.
Lopez is pretty sweet too. I mean, Lopez or Luzardo would be a sweet pickup.
Yeah,
but I think it costs a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Cabrera might be the cheapest option, and he's young, he's controllable, he's actually pretty damn good. And I think if you pair him with Ruben Niebla, he might work wonders.
Yeah. Okay. Final thing I'll address. Padres have no prospects left to trade and no MLB players left to trade. I mean, they still got some prospects that they can trade. It's not a lot. I don't know if you want to trade Merrill, but you could get a lot for Merrill. You could trade some pitching, even though we were talking about that earlier. Probably not the best. But I'll tell you guys, dude, Trent Grisham somehow has value.
Yep.
I say pull the trade ASAP, dude. Like, he seems like the guy that they're like, we're not going to trade him. We think he can become better. And then you just see him lose all of his value. It's like, no, trade him. Trade him ASAP, dude. Like he hasn't been good enough. He hasn't been good enough, I think, to stay. Like in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know. I still think that they got plenty of guys that like maybe not plenty, but they have guys that they can trade. And there's a lot of guys that aren't going to talk too much. Like or they're not going to. It's not going to be a significant capital to go get them. There's going to be random guys, and you can always do these weird swaps that we see quite often. And then final question: did the That's What's In rap video curse the Padres during the NLCS? Yeah, 100%, absolutely.
I hate them. They're horrible.
See, wait, before we head off for the night, I'm just gonna say, if Grisham could play every day like he did in the playoff series against the Mets, that's what teams are hoping for. However, they're gonna forget the 99% of the year that happened where Grisham couldn't hit his body weight and then had a 660 or 6 something OPS, which is far below average.
It was lower than that.
Was
What
it
was it?
630?
No, dude, I think it was.
There's no way he
Like
finished in the 500, bro. He finished
No,
in the
No,
500.
I think it was low 6. I mean, he hit a $184. That's so bad. All right, let's see. 626.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Damn.
That's pretty rough.
I don't
See, that's the thing. If you could trade him, and think about this, if you could trade him and go sign Kevin Kiermaier, and like you're gonna probably get more production out of Kevin Kiermaier. So that's why I'm thinking, like, why don't you just trade him and go get someone else? Like, I don't know, dude. I think you could just go and get a better center fielder that's a more defensive oriented center field. Dude, Pilar. Like, I don't know. That's kind of where I see it. The thing is, he is really cheap though, so there's kind of that too.
But at what point at what point can you stop using the defense that he's cheap?
That's the thing. You're just gonna lose. You're gonna have no value, and you're just not gonna move him. Especially if you're willing to go offer Trey Turner $342 million and like starting Grisham every day because he's $2 million is like, really? That doesn't really make much sense to me personally. I think that maybe you go sign a guy for $10 million that can produce basically double in terms of like WAR than Trent does. That's the other thing too, is like for like his WAR, it's like, yeah, he can produce a decent amount of WAR while playing like awful offensively. That's also because he's playing center. So you can cap out at a higher number in WAR if you play center or short compared to playing different positions, just because your defense matters more. It's more valuable. So there's also that side to it, where if it's like, if you move Grisham to right, all of a sudden his value goes way down. Now they're not going to do that, but like his offense is just so bad. So like, I don't know. I think that's part of it. Ideally, you could just play Fernando in center if he's not going to play in the infield. But we don't know how he would look there. That's kind of the thing. And it's kind of a dicey situation there. But yeah, maybe you get some GM that's like, dude, he looks so good. All Grisham needs to do is stop taking fastballs down the middle. Yeah, dude, they literally just throw him right down the pipe, and he just takes it and strikes out. I don't know how many times I've seen Trent Grisham strike out looking on a fastball.
Too many.
I feel like I've seen him do like 100 times.
Here's the worst part. It's fastballs down the middle.
Every time.
Yeah. And
as you can see, they're cock shots.
He went like
cock shot fastball that you should be taking yard.
I think he went like 0 for 21 in the NLCS. So plenty of upside. Don't get me wrong, but the downside is pretty significant.
Oh, I mean, the tools are there. Like,
yeah, they are.
The problem is he was also
gonna
like,
buy that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he has the power. Like, we see the pop and stuff like that. I'm definitely not saying then, like, I agree. Like, with the same, Grisham still has more upside than anyone you'll get for him in a trade, unless you package Grisham with other guys, like a 1-for-1. Yeah, I agree. But what's like the chance that you hit on Grisham's upside? Because I feel like at this point, it's almost been proven like you're not going to get that. Grisham's approach hasn't really changed. It's always been the same thing. He's always been a guy that hasn't had a very good contact tool. Like, he's never really been a good hitter. And And the whole thing is like, yeah, he's a guy that sees the zone so well, but yeah, he strikes out so much. So it's like, it doesn't really work. Like his archetype of player is like what he's good at and what he's not good at, like, doesn't work. That's like the best way I could put it. Like, it's just like, you're not going to ever be like satisfied with his overall performance, I feel like. Besides like the couple like stretches where he is just on an absolute tear. And he's awesome when he's like that. But we've seen it now for 3 years where it's like straight up, and then he's just down here 95% of the year. He's playing as one of the worst players. Defensively, absolute stud though. I will say that. So he had a little stretch last year where he was kind of all over the place on defense, and then he bounced out of it and he was really good. It was almost like the inverse of offense, honestly. Like, he's great defensively, and then he'll go through like a little slump for a little bit in terms of fielding, like a week or two. And then offensively, it's like, no, he's terrible. And then he just has a week where he hits like 600 and hits 5 bombs or like in like a 2-week period. And then outside of that, he's hitting a $140 where half of his hits are drag bunts. It's like, that's not good. That's not good at all. And also, I don't know what it is, but what do you guys think off the top of your head? How many do you think Grisham left the most guys on base last year?
I remember we looked this up, I think, and it was surprisingly even between everybody. I thought we were surprised because I remember going through everybody's left on base, and everybody left a shit ton of people.
Yeah, there was a ton of guys that
it was bad on everybody.
It was, for sure. I don't think he led, but it's also probably only because he didn't play every game.
He's in 8-9 also. I see Wavy commented Grisham and Gallo are so like, dude, if we have a team with Grisham and Gallo, everyone is going to lose their minds throughout the season. Like, it'll still be a really good team, but it's going to be like, you saw how the Yankees were with Gallo.
I'll turn my fucking ceiling into a Jackson Pollock if that happens, man. There's no way, bro. Watching both of them strike out 40% of the time is going to drive me insane.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's probably going to do it. Fun to be back on the stream. Happy to have everyone in here, but I think maybe later this week. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do recording wise, what everyone's schedules are looking like currently. But pretty soon we'll probably do a video on like some potential pitchers that we can trade for. We've been talking about that for a while. We did one on position players a while back here. So we'll probably do maybe like 1 or 2 videos later this week. Not exactly sure when those will be. Not 100% sure when we're going to be able to record, but super fun to hop on the stream. It's been quite some time. So we were only planning to go like 20, 30 minutes and we went for like 70. So that's always fun. But yeah, guys, we will talk to you guys all soon. And hopefully we see the Padres make some moves. I don't think you have to make some crazy splash moves for this to be a successful offseason. The splash came last trade deadline. I think we have to kind of realize that that's when you had that big time splash. So yeah. All right, guys, we'll talk to y'all soon and have a great night.